Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Woodstock, Georgia, it's time for Cherokee Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to Cherokee Business Radio. Stone Payton here with you this morning. This is going to be a fantastic show. We organized a special episode. So, we broadcasted twice this week for Cherokee Business Radio, but I'm so glad that we're going to get a chance to visit with this gentleman. Today's episode brought to you in part by Alma Coffee, sustainably grown, veteran-owned, and direct trade, which means, of course, from seed to cup, there are no middlemen. Please go check them out at myalmacoffee.com and go visit their roastery cafe at 3448 Holly Springs Parkway in Canton. Ask for Leticia or Harry and tell them that Stone sent you. All right, please welcome to the broadcast with LFG Nexus, the guy, the CEO, the grand poobah, the man who's put the whole thing together, Mr. Adam Gerstin. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Stone. How are you today?
I am doing well. I have so been looking forward to having you on the show. I had the pleasure of walking a good 80, 85 yards from my home all the way over to the circuit to hear you present. And I was captivated. I was really enamored with not only what you talked about doing, but why you were doing it. And I knew right then, man, if he'll do it, we gotta get him on the show. So naturally, I took the subversive route, and I got my business card to your daughter. Mm-hmm. And what's your daughter's name?
Her name's Gabrielle.
Gabrielle. So Gabrielle's the one that made this happen for me. So thank you. Shout out to Gabrielle. Welcome to the show. But for the benefit of our listeners who were not there at that Million Cups presentation that day, please do give us a little bit of an overview. Mission, purpose. What are you out there trying to do for folks?
Sure. So we've created a social media platform specifically designed for gamers, or with gamers in mind. So it's not just video gamers and esports people, but also for people that like board games or mobile video games, tabletop games, collectible card games. And so we're trying to reach out to everybody that's a gamer that's interested in learning more about gaming, is tired of going to hundreds of different websites to get information. We're trying to create this nexus or this home for everybody to go to, a one-stop shop sort of place. And so what that will do is, just make things easier and also kind of expose people to some other games that they might not realize that are out there that they might really enjoy as well.
What a marvelous idea. What prompted it? Was there some void in the marketplace or in that arena that was impacting you and you said, okay, we got to fix this. We got to plug this void?
Exactly. That's really what happened. So I'm just going to kind of come out with it. I've been like a big, nerd geek for forever. And so I was recently playing Dungeons and Dragons, which has become super popular nowadays.
Really? Again? Is that again? I'm not. I don't know that world. I was more comfortable sitting the bench on the baseball team than being in that world. So I wasn't good in any of the worlds, but that was the world I found myself in. But is it again? It's reemerged as a very popular thing, huh?
It has, actually. So, first of all, Dungeons & Dragons has been around for almost 50 years. It's crazy.
Man, you're making me feel old.
I'm sorry about that. But so what happened recently that I think it really gets attributed to a lot of it is if you ever saw the thing on Netflix called Stranger Things.
Yeah.
So in Stranger Things, in the first episode, they're playing Dungeons & Dragons, and they summon this like Demogorgon, which is this devil type of thing. But from there, just it started growing. People started wondering more and stuff like that. Then Game of Thrones came out, and Marvel.
Now, Game of Thrones, now I'm all over that. I love that.
Yes, I love Game of Thrones.
As do apparently some other folks.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, I think they had something like, I don't know, average of like 20 million viewers per episode.
Holy cow.
And that was even in season 8, which we know wasn't as good as all the other seasons. So we basically, I was playing these games, and I got to be honest, I'm a power gamer. So what that means is I really like to kind of dig in and try and understand, and just so that when I play, like, I could do really well. It's a lot of things.
So you're in it to win it when you're not just blowing off a little steam, you have a beer, play a game. You're like this is big time for you.
Yeah, so it's super. I'm a competitive person, and so I get into it. I want to play, and I like to see how well can my character do, or that type of thing. And so I started looking for different websites and things like that where I could learn more about some of the different classes and things. And through that, I just never. I just had to go to so many websites. I was like, I wish there was just like one place where I could go to that had everything. And I'm not just into D&D or Dungeons and Dragons. There's other games that I like as well. And so the thought was like, what if there was just a place that kind of catered to everybody instead of having to go to 20 different places to get the information that you want. And so that's kind of how it began.
I love it. I love the idea, and it is not uncommon for an early stage entrepreneur to come in this studio or one of the other Business RadioX studios across the country, and that same kind of dynamic. They were trying to get something done. There was something missing, and bless their heart, they took on the charge of filling that hole. I think that's fantastic. And I gotta believe there must be some tremendous challenges in trying to get something of that nature and that scale off the ground. Would you share a couple of some of the rough spots that you've had to navigate?
Well, sure. So first of all, actually, that wasn't originally what we were trying to do. Originally, we were trying to create a place for people to go to have better experiences playing Dungeons and Dragons. And from that, it grew into this social media platform. So we've pivoted once or twice, but the challenges were just and I've learned a lot about myself kind of in the process as kind of how I am as manager and expectations I have from people, the priorities that I have versus the priorities that other people have. And they are usually completely different, to be quite honest.
There's a pro tip for all you new entrepreneurs and existing intrapreneurs inside companies. Not everybody's coming from the same worldview or priorities or any of that, are they?
Exactly. And so that was kind of a big dose of reality. Like I knew that, but I kind of just needed to see that kind of affect me. So, as we've been going through this process, we've, worked with different people, and, some people just, this is a side project for them. Sometimes it was less or more and that sort of thing. And, so trying to build something that's kind of trying to be on the scale of potentially like a Facebook, a Twitter, that sort of thing is, obviously that's where I'm trying to go, but it's definitely a lot of steps to get there. And so I'm actually not a developer myself. I can't write the code.
Oh, my.
So I've had to.
I have a dream.
Exactly.
Adam Martin Luther Gerstin. I have a dream. Make it happen.
Definitely. So, but we've actually done really well with the limited funds that we've had. The site looks great. In fact, we even changed it up. For the amount of money that we've spent, which has been pretty much a shoestring budget to have what we currently have right now, is quite amazing. I'm really proud of the stuff that we've been able to do, and just being, watching our pennies where we can here and there.
So do you have a revenue model yet, or you're still getting it? So there is some money coming in from the product, or some path for money for the product?
We're about to go live. With our product. Currently, it's in what we would call a beta phase.
You heard it first here on Business RadioX. May ever catch him early. All right.
Exactly. So currently, it's in a beta state where we're trying to get people to kind of come in and tell us what they think. Nice. Is it easy to use? Is it tough? Are the colors okay? Tell us any of the problems that are out there before it goes live, so we could fix them ahead of time.
Right.
And so we are looking to go live probably here in the next week or two. So we've been able to get some good feedback, and it's been very, very exciting. At the same time, we're right there on the precipice of being able to go live and really start trying to bring in and ramp up revenue at the same time. So it's been an interesting day. Interesting time.
Yeah. So what prompted you? Was there some catalyst? Was it something Gabrielle said about opening the venue, the platform up to board games and other? Tell me a little bit about how that unfolded.
Sure. So originally our goal was to create like a catered experience or Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
So the whole idea was like to have sound effects and cool voices and things like that. And with that, I just I knew that I am myself. I like video games just like everybody else. In fact, just to use some numbers, apparently 66% of the country self-identify as a gamer.
Holy cow.
Right. And so now it's really hard to find numbers on things like board games and Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. But the numbers for video games and esports are fairly easier to see.
Right.
And there's just so many people that are into the video games and now esports, which is, the whole idea of is neat. It's, they're trying to actually kind of take over Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA. They're trying to take esports to this completely crazy high
and there
level.
are rock stars in that world that are really talented. I mean, right? They're just like,
there's millions and millions of dollars being thrown at it. It's actually pretty crazy, the amount of money. But so the reason why we're kind of focusing a little bit on the D&D, the Magic the Gathering, all these other types of games is because nobody else is.
Right.
And also because that's just kind of where my heart is. That's where I first started getting into gaming. I still love video games and stuff like that. But there's this whole genre of people that aren't being...
they're back to that hole, right? Or it's another hole within the hole, this gap you're trying to fill. So does this extend to, what I'm sure will sound very mundane to some of the people listening to this? When my crowd gets together... we had this game called Codenames, and it's this kind of it's kind of a newer version of Password and that kind of thing. But eventually, if enough people want it, will there be a little Codename sandbox in your thing, and people say, "Hey, here's what we're learning about Codenames," or so it could extend to stuff like Monopoly and Codenames and some of that.
So our goal is to create games, create the ability for people to connect over any type of game.
Oh, we don't.
So we absolutely have Monopoly. Board games are incredibly popular.
Yeah, sure.
Especially, with COVID and people being locked in.
Yeah.
They're playing board games with their families. Actually, I read something that puzzles were at an all-time high during COVID because people could kind of sit there and do that on their own. And they're still kind of using their brain to, they're still exercising their brain at the same time. They, had something to do physically as well. And
sure.
So people were really getting into these older type of style of games and things that we would do in the past versus the level of technology that we currently have as well. Where you can pick up your phone and you can play millions of games from one of the app stores or even just a video game. But people were going back to like this physical sort of thing as well.
So and I recognize, and I want to talk more about it in a few moments about your motives. I recognize that your motives are not confined to financial. So we'll maybe talk about that in a moment. But staying in the revenue generating kind of conversation, are people going to be able to advertise on this platform? Is that one of the revenue streams for this kind of thing?
Sure. So we actually have, I don't know, probably between 5 and 10 different potential revenue streams. The biggest one.
Cool.
Yeah. So we have like different tiers that businesses could get involved in. One of the things, we're really about connecting people.
Right.
That's how I see this. Our goal is to connect gamers or people that are just starting to get into gaming or people that are getting into what I would call geek culture. So like the Game of Thrones, the Marvel, the Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. And, I could go on with just all the different things that are coming out on between Netflix, Prime, and
it's not going to be
Max.
Less, it's going to be more, right?
Exactly. So they've realized that they've really kind of tapped into this thing, and it's crazy because like years ago, people would never admit that they were a gamer. Now
it's cool.
Dungeons and Dragons is. I read an article. The CEO of Wizards of the Coast owns Dungeons and Dragons, and also this other game called Magic the Gathering. And they're saying that there's nearly 40 million people that play Dungeons and Dragons.
Wow!
And that they've been seeing revenue increase significantly over the years to the fact where they've even grown another 30% this last year.
And so ad revenue is a revenue stream. Like, who wants to advertise on something like that? Well, more to the point, who wants or who should be considering advertising on LFG Nexus?
Sure. So we've got two different sets of people that or businesses that we're kind of looking at. One is that nationwide sort of business. So if you're into energy drinks or a lot of the things that kind of go along with gaming and streaming. So energy drinks, people that sell peripherals for computers, so like keyboards, mouse, things like that.
Okay.
People that are also into like music and things, just anything kind of related to gaming genre, just that kind of younger youth sort of thing, where you're trying to get people that are into gaming to your sort of thing. At the same time, what we're also trying to do is we're trying to reach out to local businesses. And so
Interesting. So, tell me more about the local angle.
Sure. So when I grew up, and I'm going to kind of date myself here, we had gaming stores, but we didn't have the internet at that point. And so to find out what was going on with the different games that were coming out or comic books or things like that, you'd have to go to these gaming stores, and the people running them wouldn't usually be in the know of what was going on. We didn't have access to the internet that said, basically every Tuesday something comes out. And so we would not hear for months about different types of games. And so because of that, kind of part of our social mission is we want to help local game stores to get their names out there to be able to sell stuff. So on our platform, we actually have a marketplace where the local game store can now put up their games onto our platform, and they can sell through our platform. The benefit of that also is that if anyone buys through our platform, we're going to give them points. And with these points, they can do things like they could redeem them for gift cards. They could get cool backgrounds. There's a lot of things that we can do to encourage them to use them.
That didn't even occur to me, and it makes perfect sense that you guys would have a great handle on what us old guys are calling gamification. And we're like even at Business RadioX, we want people to share the material, right?
Right.
So we don't know how, but in recent team phone calls, we've had this conversation. Is there some way to reward people for sharing the material? People are very interested in listening to the material, but we don't want to stop there. We want, Bill to share it with Sue, and Sue to share it with her mastermind group, and all that kind of stuff. So, but you guys, know this world of gamification, and yeah.
Right. So, we're trying to, so we have the ability to give people points for doing different things.
Cool.
And so that's, again, another revenue model. So, for example, let's say a local gaming company comes to us, or just any gaming company comes to us and say, hey, we're thinking of creating this sort of game. We can basically reach out to our group of people that are on our platform and say, ask them to fill out a survey. Like, does this interest you? Do you like this? Do you like this? And they could give them a lot of good data.
Oh, yeah.
That they could use to decide, okay, which way do we want to go to create this game? So we're looking to, that's another revenue stream that adds to the revenue stream. We charge people, local businesses like $25 to be on our platform. We actually have a local map that will show all the different events that they have going on in the local area. So you could look and see what's going on in your neighborhood so that you can also connect.
But I could have sworn you just said, and we can go take it out if it was a mistake. I thought you said $25. I mean, this is not like thousands and thousands of dollars at this stage to get involved and participate as a sponsor.
Correct.
For like a local business.
Right. So a local business for like $25 a month, they could be on our map. They could post unlimited events. So if they've got, and it's not just for local game stores. It's for the laser tag place, for the escape room. It could be for a pizza place down the street that's maybe doing something.
Right.
I don't want to. There's some breweries around here, and a lot of times to bring people in, they'll be like, "Hey, get 2 beers in, and we're also playing board games." Or even for a little while, one of the breweries out here was doing a thing where it was like a D&D night where you could come and play what they call a one-shot thing. It was like 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
And you're drinking a beer or two, and you're playing D&D with some people maybe maybe you don't, just kind of depending on how they set it up.
Right.
And so we're trying to reach out to people like that. We're trying to reach out to, concerts, people that, anything that, gamers could kind of get into. So if we could get a list of concerts on the site that we could even, sell event tickets for as well. Because we have the ability to almost like an Eventbrite sort of thing where you can create tickets for events that you want to charge money for. So we're trying to, just, again, get everybody to be a little bit, we're trying to make the social media more social. We're trying to, take things out of kind of the cloud and the internet and give people a way to meet one another. And the reason behind that is a lot of the friends that I have currently are people that I've met through gaming. And so, these are great people that I've, that I love and stuff like that I've known for 20 plus years doing this sort of thing. And, we want to help more people find other people to play games. And maybe if that's just a start, then from there they can, learn more about the people and grow and that sort of thing.
It seems like an enormous undertaking. And clearly you're up to the task, but it sounds like you're very close to a critically important milestone. You're gonna is the right word, release? You're gonna let this thing out in the wild here pretty soon.
Yes. So within probably the next week or so.
Wow.
And there's there's a few things that we're still kind of adding as we go.
Right.
We've got to constantly be innovating and be just ready to do something different because, to be honest, Facebook could kind of just take like a pittance of their money.
Right.
And, we're actually trying to actually raise money right now, but, they could just be like, here's
So now
$5 million.
are you actually looking for funding, or you want to stay customer funded, or where are you with regard to that?
So
are you open to the conversations, or
So currently we actually have what's called a WeFunder. A WeFunder is like crowdfunding.
Oh, all right.
So anyone could come in and they can buy into our company through WeFunder.
So you're not just getting a T-shirt; you're actually getting a piece of the. Okay.
Yeah. So you're actually not getting a T-shirt. You're actually,
no T-shirt.
you're there's a whole thing. It's that's a whole nother level in the kind of on the financial stuff. But in essence, you can buy into the company.
Oh, wow.
And so imagine if you could buy into Facebook when it was first getting launched, and what that stock would be worth now.
Right.
And so we're doing that same sort.
And
of
if you got relatively small units, I don't know the right words, but can you get in for a little bit of money where you don't have to? Yeah.
You can get in for as little as $100.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, and that's why we like this platform because it lets people that are just getting started.
Right.
We see a lot of things that are going on with stock with, all the things that happen with GameStop and AMC right now and just how the stock market's kind of going.
Right.
And so, and Bitcoin and stuff like that. So I think a lot more people are interested in that. And so for, a minimal, amount of money to get in, there's a potential that you can make, a significant amount of money. I mean, if you just maybe don't drink a Starbucks drink like once a week,
right,
that could kind of cover the $100, after a month.
So for me personally, I can tell you that there would be that money motive a little bit, but also it would just be cool to be able to say, yeah, I was an early investor, on something that took off and got some traction.
Exactly.
And so there's a cool factor associated with it too, right? And as people like me, we get a little longer in the tooth to be associated with investing in something like this, right? That's a little more hip. It's a little more, So I know I'm very attracted to it. You touched on it briefly early in the conversation, but I'd like to dive a little deeper to whatever degree you're willing. I'd love to know what you feel like in this journey. You've learned about yourself.
I have. So going through this process, I've learned different things in terms of how much I kind of tolerate from people. Maybe that's not the best way to say it, and hopefully I'm not putting myself in this terrible light. But, business is business. And so there were times that, we've had to make some decisions that didn't necessarily want to. But, just to move the business forward, there's things that we had to do. And there are people that, just didn't have that same level of priority. They didn't have that same level of passion. And I realized that no one's going to have the passion that I do. And so I can't expect that from other people. But, I just wanted, to work with people that were interested in things like that. And people said that they were interested, but when it actually kind of came down to actually doing some of the stuff, they weren't really there. And so it was kind of how do I deal with that, because these people are saying that they're going to do things and then the deadline comes up and they're not done. And so, I've learned when I first initially got into this, I was, rather strict. Right. And so, I've realized, and there are times when, people are sick or something happened in the family or things like that, and that I completely understand. But from that, I've also learned, better ways to manage people, better ways to, have certain expectations of people. And so that I'm not getting upset with others for things that just, I should have known better that were going to happen or things of that nature. So it's been definitely a real good, interesting journey into kind of my personality and my expectations of people when it comes to this business.
Well, and kudos to you for recognizing that there has been some growth and recognizing, or at least I get the sense that you clearly expect more growth.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe you're not a finished product yet. So I know we've got this launched, we've got this WeFunder thing, so we may have the answer to this question, but where your energy is going to be near term, where's this thing going near term and long term, and what can we do to help? We, the Business RadioX community, listeners, ambassadors, correspondents, studio partners, all of us, but also Cherokee Business Radio. What can we do to help, man?
Sure. So, just near term, the stuff that we're working on is just finishing up the website and getting the app built out. The app, I think, is major, is a big thing, and so that's probably going to take a couple of weeks for us to get that done. But the app's really kind of where it's at. A lot of people don't want to go on their desktop or that sort of thing. They just want to have access to things on their phone.
Right.
So that's a lot of what we're working on right now. It's just the development, making sure that everything is smooth, it's easy to do stuff. It's that when you log into the site, you could understand where to go and just have things in proper order that it makes sense.
Right.
So that's kind of where we are, like on the business level in terms of the development of it. Obviously, there's a lot of marketing we're looking into, and that's kind of where Business RadioX can help us. Is there's probably a ton of just local businesses that can use, additional,
Right.
have more people come into their stores, get involved in the local community from gamers. I mean, literally 66% of the country is gamers. And so that can be, I know that a lot of people think that that's like, the 18 and 20-year-olds and stuff like that, but the data actually says that the average gamer is 32.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And there's, tons of, people that are a little bit older that are still kind of, playing games out there. They're trying to keep their brain, in good shape. And they're just kind of, there's lots of people that have money that are looking to do things. I mean,
yeah. So the answer to the question about how we specifically might be is just you need to get the word out.
Absolutely.
You need the local proprietor, the guy who's running the pizza shop, the lady who's running the design shop, the people who are running the stores. Because looks like it's going to be a meaningful revenue stream for you. You need to they just need to know you exist and you've got this thing going.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you own the pizza shop down the street, the convenience shop, the beer place,
Right.
What we're looking at doing is to have your business on our platform. It's like $25 a month, which is less than doing a decent boost on a Facebook post.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to bash Facebook too much, but you build up this community, and then when you actually post on it, you're lucky if 10% of the people see your posts.
That's not,
Right. So
you're not the first one to say that.
Exactly. So my goal is to never, ever have that on the platform. If I can do everything to make sure that happens so that when you post, everyone that you've worked so hard to bring over will be able to see it, because it's just ridiculous that they don't. And you have to pay for your own audience to see your posts.
Now, see, that's a very refreshing thing right there. Now, that's a refreshing idea. Well, Adam Gerstin with LFG Nexus, it has been an absolute delight having you here in the studio. Thank you so much. Before we wrap, let's make sure that we leave our listeners with appropriate points of contact, whether they're URLs for the WeFunder type thing, anything you want to know, LinkedIn, phone, email, URLs, just whatever you think is appropriate.
Sure. So our actual website that you could go to right now and log in and check it out is just www.lfgnexus.com. From there, just keep in mind right now it's in beta. We are making edits and things like that, but feel free to let us know if you see like a problem or a suggestion. We're all about trying to make this as easy for everyone to use as possible. When it comes to investments, we're using this thing called WeFunder. You can go to wefunder.com, and then it's / and this is going to kind of get a little bit weird. It's LFG _ Nexus, NEXUS 2, the number 2. And from there, you can see you can actually see how much we've raised at this point. You can get involved. There are some levels where you get like additional things, but that's where you can kind of get involved. And again, you can get involved for as little as $100. You can invest $25,000. I mean, we've got people doing both. So,
fantastic.
And we do have a Facebook page. We're going to keep it at least for a little while longer. Hopefully, or until they
hopefully
just ban us.
Mark Z doesn't hear this interview and say, okay, enough with Adam already. I'm done with it.
Exactly. So, and we don't really feel that Facebook's really our competition, but in some sort of way, they kind of are.
Yeah.
So you could go to facebook.com / LFG Nexus. And so I post a lot of stuff about different things that are coming out with the gaming world, whether it's games or what's going on in geek culture. But again, we're going to have all that, even more of that stuff on our site. And you can like find different streamers. You can find other people to play games with that it might be on more of a national level just to find people to play. At the same time, you can also interact with local businesses and find other people locally, which we think is really kind of the crux of what we're trying to do here.
Well, so do I after this conversation. Well, keep up the good work. Congratulations on the momentum. But and in that vein, I was thinking while you were talking, it might be fun for you to bring in a local sponsor. Let's say you do land the pizza parlor guy or the GameStop guy or whatever. It might be fun to do an episode where you bring them in. We kind of get caught up on what's going on in your world because I know it's going to change rapidly. Mm-hmm. We spotlight that business and maybe talk a little bit about the partnership. If you're up for that, we'll do that sometime, or maybe even a couple of them. That'd be great. No, absolutely. Definitely love to. Again, if we could help the local community, and yes, we're all about that. We're all about connecting people, creating relationships. That's kind of, to me, the whole point of this whole thing called life. Amen. Well, thanks again for joining us, man. This has been a blast. Awesome. Well, thank you for inviting me. It's been tremendous. All right. Until next time, this is Stone Payton for our guest today, Adam Gerstin with LFG Nexus, and everyone here at the Business RadioX family saying we'll see you next time on Cherokee Business Radio.